constitutional framework. Regulating Act of 1773. It was the first step taken by the British government to control and regulate the affairs of the East India Company in India. It recognized, for the first time, the political and administrative functions of the company. It laid the foundations of central administration in India. It designated the Governor of Bengal as the Governor-General of Bengal. The first such Governor-General was Lord Warren Hastings. It provided for the establishment of a Supreme Court at Calcutta, 1774, comprising one Chief Justice and 3 other judges. Amending Act 1781. To rectify the defects of the Regulating Act of 1773, the British Parliament passed the Amending Act of 1781, also known as the Act of Settlement or Declaratory Act, 1781. The key provision of this act was to demarcate the relations between the Supreme Court and the Governor-General in Council. It settled the question of jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Pitt's India Act 1784. Indian affairs came under the direct control of the British government in Britain. Distinguished between the commercial and political functions of the company. Allowed the Court of Directors to manage the commercial affairs and created a new body called Board of Control, 6 members, to manage the political affairs. Thus it established a system of dual government. Empowered the Board of Control to supervise and direct all operations of the civil and military government or revenues of the British possessions in India. Charter Act 1813. It ended the monopoly of the ink in India except for the company's monopoly in trade with China and trade in tea with India. Thus, trade with India for all commodities except tea was thrown open to all British subjects. This lasted till 1833 when the next charter abolished the trade of the company. Charter Act 1813 for the first time explicitly defined the constitutional position of the British territories in India. Government of India Act, 1858. Also known as the Act for the Good Government of India. The rule of the company was replaced by the rule of the Crown. Changed the designation of the Governor-General of India to that of Viceroy of India. Viceroy became the agent of the Crown. This act abolished the dual government of the Pitt's India Act. This act also ended the doctrine of lapse. The Secretary of State was a member of the British Cabinet and was responsible ultimately to the British Parliament. Established a 15-member Council of India to assist the Secretary of State for India. Indian Councils Act 1861. Initiated the process of decentralization by restoring legislative powers to Bombay and Madras. These powers were taken away through Charter Act 1833. Introduced representative institutions in India by associating Indians with the lawmaking process. Viceroy nominated some Indians as non-official members of his expanded council. 3 Indians nominated were the Raja of Benares, the Maharaja of Patiala, and Sir Dinkar Rao. It empowered the Viceroy to issue ordinances during emergency. Empowered the Viceroy to frame the rules of business. The same power is given to President of India under Article 77. Statutory recognition to portfolio system. Establishment of new legislative councils for Bengal, NWFP, and Punjab.
Indian Councils Act 1892. Though the majority of official members were retained, the non-official members of the Indian Legislative Council were henceforth to be nominated by the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and the provincial legislative councils. The non-official members of the provincial council were to be nominated by certain local bodies such as universities, district boards and municipalities. Beginning of representative system in India. Council to have the power to discuss budget and of addressing questions to the executive. Indian Councils Act 1909, Morley Minter reforms. Introduced for the first time, an element of elections to the legislative councils. At the provincial legislative councils, non-official members to be in majority. Introduction of separate electorates, for Muslims. It provided for the first time, an association of Indians with the executive councils of the Viceroy and governors. Satyendra Prasad Sinha became the first Indian to join the Viceroy's Executive Council. He was appointed as the law member.
Government of India Act, 1919, Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. The idea of responsible government stressed office of the High Commissioner of India was created in London. Indian legislature became bicameral for the first time. Communal representation extended to Sikhs, Indian Christians, Anglo-Indians and Europeans. Secretary of State for India now to be paid from British revenue. Diarchy in provinces by dividing subjects of administration between official members and elected members. Created centre-state relations. Government of India Act 1935. Provided for the establishment of an All India Federation consisting of provinces and princely states as units. Note, the princely states did not join and so federation didn't come into existence. Residuary powers were given to the viceroy. Abolished diarchy in the provinces and introduced provincial autonomy in its place. Introduced responsible government in provinces. Introduced bicameralism in 6 out of 11 provinces. Extended the principle of communal representation by providing separate electorates for depressed classes, scheduled castes, women and labor, workers. 1909, only for Muslims. 1919, extended for Sikhs, Indian Christians, Anglo-Indians and Europeans. Abolished the Council of India, established by the Government of India Act of 1858. The Secretary of State for India was provided with a team of advisors. Established the Reserve Bank of India to control the currency and credit of the country. Established the Federal Public Service Commission, Provincial Public Service Commission and Joint Public Service Commission for 2 or more provinces. Provided for the establishment of a federal court, which was set up in 1937. Indian Independence Act, 1947. Declared India as an independent and sovereign state from August 15, 1947. Provided for the creation of 2 independent dominions of India and Pakistan with the right to secede from the British Commonwealth. Governor-General of each were to be appointed by King, on the advice of the Dominion Cabinet. Empowered the constituent assemblies of the 2 dominions to frame and adopt any constitution and to repeal any act of the British Parliament, including the Independence Act itself. Abolished the office of the Secretary of State for India and transferred his functions to the Secretary of State for Commonwealth Affairs. It assigned dual functions, i.e., constituent and legislative, to the Constituent Assembly formed in 1946. It declared this Dominion legislature as a sovereign body. Granted freedom to the Indian princely states either to join the Dominion of India or Dominion of Pakistan or to remain independent.